All attendees will be on mute and will remain for the whole webinar. Please use the question box to ask any questions related to the topic, and all questions will be answered after the demo. If we run out of time or if your question requires a longer answer, then the question will be answered offline directly. Use the chat box for questions related to the webinar, such as if you can't hear the audio or if the presenter is going too fast. But please note that a link to view the webinar recording will be sent to all attendees after the demo. This is the 24th in our series of monthly webinars on key areas of NAV and Business Central. You can sign up for as many as you like on our website. I'll show you a list of up-and-coming webinars at the end of the session. We also send out regular emails to register the next one. My name is Chrissy and I'll be facilitating the demo today. I'm a sales executive here at TVision. I've worked here for nearly 6 months and my background is 16 years in customer service and sales. Ian will be doing the demo today and he is a support consultant at TVision. He's been working at TVision for 3 years and has been using NAV since 2000. There are many new features of Business Central in the April release. We can't show you every new feature for these areas today, but we will show you those we believe are most useful and applicable to the majority of companies. However, a list of more new features we've segmented into 4 areas will be included in the presentation, which we'll send to you after the webinar, as well as the webinar recording. So the top 5 things about the new release for Business Central that we're going to discuss and show you today. Receive more items than ordered. You will now be able to receive a quantity higher than the ordered quantity on purchase orders, according to an over-receipt policy that you set up on the over-receipt codes page. Vendor and customer different emails for specific reports. You can now add multiple email addresses when you are sending different types of documents out, instead of just sending everything to a generic email address. You may have a sales shipment that needs to go to the receiving manager, an invoice for the accounts payable, and a reminder for the accounts department. You can set up per document type for each customer or vendor which email address you want to send it to. Use resources in purchase documents. You can now use resource as a line type of purchase documents. For example, you can add resources on purchase orders, invoices, and credit memos, and post-purchase transactions for them. You can correct purchase documents with resource lines, copy them, or use resource extended text. The ability to view a list of sessions and cancel one or more of them. In the Business Central Administration Centre, an administrator can see a list of active sessions on an environment and cancel one or more of them. All existing resources consumed by a session will also be cancelled. And finally, disable export of data to Excel. With Edit and Open in Excel, users can quickly get a spreadsheet with data from Business Central for further changes to Excel. However, some companies have data control rules with restrictions on having data sets in Excel where it's more difficult to control or audit. Administrators can now specify which users are allowed to export data to Excel, and this is now controlled by a new D365 Excel export action permission set, which gives your business stricter control over data. I'll now hand over to Ian for the demo.
Sorry, I didn't have my microphone on. Hi, everyone. Welcome to this demo. So what I have for you today, I have my current system, which has been upgraded to the latest version of Business Central, version 16 or 2020 Wave 1, depending on your naming conventions. You'll notice I've got a couple of tabs open today because I have 2 systems set up slightly differently, so I can show you some of the changes. But the first change that Chrissy mentioned was receiving more items than were ordered. So a problem which has been in Business Central and in NAV for quite some time. If you order 1,000 items, when the delivery comes, there might be more than 1,000, maybe there's 1,010 for some reason. You would have to go back into that purchase order, edit the purchase order to say we're ordering 1,010. If you have an approval process, it would have to be sent for approval before it could be released, before someone could receive those goods. There's a nice new feature in the latest version of Business Central where you can actually receive more than you ordered, and there are some nice controls that you can put on that to limit how that works. So there is, if I go to my search box, an over receipt screen where we can do a little bit of setup. So we can set up some reason codes basically for why someone might be receiving more than was ordered. So I have rounding here as my default if I try to use anything. And for rounding, I can set there's a tolerance of 2%. So I can receive up to 2% more than was ordered. I've got a couple more that I set up here. Minimum order quantity, minimum order multiple restrictions might cause you to receive more than you ordered. And each one can have, as you see, a different tolerance that you will accept. And here's an interesting one. The container size might be different to the one that's normally used. That's why it's going over. And for this one, I've even specified if we're using purchase document approvals, then this document would need to be re-approved before the actual receipt could be posted. So if you are using approvals for small adjustments, you can let the guy in the receiving store just receive them. Or for a larger adjustment, you can say, no, this must go back and be re-approved. So let's see that working in the real world. I'm in my sandbox company. I'm going to go to my purchase orders. And let's just get to our purchase orders. And here I have, let's have a look at this order. It has been released, which is good. So I have an order here with Fabricam. I'm buying some Athens desk. I've ordered a quantity of 1002. The shipment arrives and I find out there's actually more than 1002 on the container. There's actually 1005. So I put in the amount that I'm going to receive and I get a little message here that says it's an over receipt quantity has been recorded. And if I scroll across, I can see it's over receipting by 5 units, and the reason code for the over receipt is because of rounding. This is basically all I need to do because rounding didn't require any authorization and 5 units is well within that 2% limit that I set. So this user would then simply be able to post this purchase receipt. If I had chosen a different, if I'd chosen that container size option, and if I had approvals turned on, then before posting, the user would have to request approval and someone up the chain would have to say, yes, it's fine that we're receiving 200 units more than we should have, whatever the case may be. So this solves a little bit of a tedious, time-consuming process, whereas in the past, you would have had to unrelease this document, change the quantity over here, again, send it for approval if you're using approvals before the person could receipt. This lets one person handle everything by themselves and get on with their job, let business happen as it should. The second change is the different emails for different types of documents. So you might have a situation, we were just looking at purchases, so this time I'll talk about the sales side of the business, our customers. We may have when a customer orders something, we might send the order confirmation to the purchasing manager at that company. And when we ship the goods, we might want to send shipping advice to the receiving stores manager. When the customer makes payment, we want to send, when we want to send out the statements to the customers, the statements go to the account department, the invoices, copies get sent to their accounts payable department. In the existing systems for each company, let's just have a look at the Datum Corporation. For each company, we can put on a default email address and all documents would basically be sent to this email address unless you had some customized code or you were using something like Continua Output to manage sending documents. What we have the ability for now is for this customer, if I go to Navigate, Customer, Document Layouts, I can now choose different types of documents, and I can choose who at that company do I want to send this document to. I can fill them in one by one. There's a nice little shortcut button which says copy. So these are all the types of documents I have set up in my system that I might be sending to a customer, order confirmations, invoices, etc. And at the moment, they're all going to the default email address because I haven't chosen anyone here. But let's say when there's a reminder, this one's special, I don't want it to go to the default email address. I'm going to go and look at the context we have at the Datum Corporation, and I want this one to go to John Smith. So now what's going to happen? Whenever I'm using my system, if I print and send an invoice, it will go to the default email address. If I, at any point, issue a reminder and I send that to the customer, it will go specifically to John Smith's email address. So this is very nice. Instead of one generic email for everybody, you can have separate contacts within your customers and separate contacts within your vendors who you can send different types of documents to. So that saves a bit of work fiddling in Excel, which is, I think, very nice. Another nice feature which has been changed in all versions of Business Central and Nav prior to that. When you went to a sales invoice, let's just pull up a sales invoice and have a look at one, or a sales order. Doesn't have to be an invoice. So on a sales order, you were always allowed to sell different things to your customers. You could sell items. You could also sell GL accounts. If you were doing consultancy work or something, or selling a service, you put it against a GL account. You could sell your fixed assets, and you could sell resources. So people who work at your company, you could sell their time or equipment that you might have that you're using for a job for a customer. You could book out its time as part of your sales order. But there was never the ability to buy a resource. And you can imagine a situation where perhaps you have a supplier who sell you a contractor's time, and you sell that contractor's time on to one of your clients. So you're selling that architect's time to one of your customers for £100 an hour, and then you're paying his company £50 an hour for his time. You would have done that selling him as a GL account and buying his time against a GL account. Now you can set him up as a resource, sell his time in hours as a resource, and you can also go to your purchase orders, and very nicely you can now buy his time as a resource. So everything is treated as the same thing. First Up Consultants is a nice one to look at. So we might be buying some consultancy time which we're going to sell on, and you will notice now in a purchase document you can buy a resource. Linda is one of their people, and you'll notice then you can put in how many hours do you want to buy, £50 per hour, and then you can put Linda's time on a sales document to one of your clients. So this is very nice. It kind of lets a resource flow through your system. It also works when you're linking those resources to jobs and you're invoicing against those jobs. The next one's a bit of a cheat, the ability to look at sessions and possibly kill a session. So on-premise systems of Nav, administrators within your organization always had the ability to go and search for sessions, and they could kill someone's session if they were using up a license and they shouldn't be, or if they were you know, they'd gone home and not turned off their computer and logged out, you could always kick them off the system. And that was not possible in Business Central. But now the Admin Center, I don't expect you as end users to be going and playing around in the Admin Center, but what you can ask us to do if you need to. So you'll notice I was logged into my Sandbox company over here. So if I go and look at my Sandbox company, I can go manage the sessions now. And here it will give me a list of sessions, and there's my session over here on there, and we can cancel the session. So if I've started editing a customer and I've locked up that customer, no one else can post a sales order or something, we can come along, cancel the session, which will kick me out and let everyone else get on with their work. And we can also have a look and see how long this person has been logged on, and the last task that they started, how long have they been working on it. So that's a nice little admin tool if you do get into that situation where somebody's locking up your database. We now have a nice easy way of freeing up that lock for you. And the last one that I really need to show you is exporting data to Excel. I'm going to pop over to a different system. This is, again, it's still version 16, but this time I'm not using my Sandbox company, I'm using my demo production company. And if we go to a screen where we could normally export information to Excel, if I just choose customers up here. So on this system, as a super user, I get the option, just have to navigate before more options page. I can open this screen in Excel. I can even edit this screen in Excel if I want to. And this is a really nice feature. It makes editing really quick to do bulk updates, etc. But it also opens up a bit of a security vulnerability. You can imagine if this was a real company and this was a list of customers, I could come in, download this into Excel, take it home with me, and who knows what's going to happen to that information from there. And there may be sensitive information on there. Credit limits, for example, bank account numbers, people's email addresses. So perhaps you don't want everybody to have this functionality. In previous versions of Business Central, it was there for everybody. But what's happened in the latest version, if I'm on customers, you will notice between navigate and more options, that page option with the open in Excel and edit in Excel, it has disappeared. So now it is impossible for me as a user to just dump this information into Excel very quickly and take it home. It makes it much easier for a system administrator to manage that data, keep it safe, and if the auditors ask questions, no, we've disabled this for all users. How would you do this? You will go to the users screen, and on the users screen, so I'm logged in as demo admin, and we'll just have a quick look here. And you can see in my permission sets, I'm not a super user, and I've been given very specific permissions. If, as an administrator, I would like this user to be able to export to Excel, I can always add a new permission set, which is called, it's here somewhere, Excel Export Activity. Now, I've taken away my super user privileges here, so I can't change my account myself. I would have to ask somebody with super permissions to come in and give me this option. And it looks like by default in version 16, this option has been removed for everyone except super users. So when you do bump your system up to version 16, if somebody says, ooh, my export to Excel has gone, or my open in Excel button has gone, it's because they need that Excel action adding to their permissions if they should be allowed to export data. So those are the 5 things that Chrissy mentioned. I've got a couple of minutes to spare. I want to show you another feature which I think is quite nice. It's PDF attachments. Let's say I'm in my sales orders, for example, and I'll show you how this works. So I'm in my sales orders, and let's have a look at this first sales order on the system. Now, looking at this sales order, you will notice there are no attachments on this sales order. I've spoken to the customer. This is exactly what they want. And I want to keep a record of this is where I left this sales order. Maybe there's a whole team of people who come in and sometimes they amend orders because customers phone in or something. What I can do, I can print send and I can attach this document to itself as a PDF. It's working on it. It takes a few minutes and it has been attached. And now I can see this sales order has an attachment. I can go and look at that attachment. And if I click on the link, it will download me a PDF copy. Let's open it up and just have a quick look. A PDF copy of this sales order for 12 pieces. If someone comes in and changes this order for any reason, they add a line, they delete a line, and a few days after that, I come and have a look and say, but that's not what I captured. I can always come back, I can look at my attachment and see exactly what I had, see exactly what has been changed and try and find out why. So on a sales order, maybe it's not so useful, but it also works on purchase orders. So if you've decided you wanted to purchase 1,000 units of something, you sent it for approval, your manager wasn't happy, he changed it to 800 units before he approved it. If you'd saved the attachment, you'd know that you ordered 1,000 and you asked for approval for 1,000, and you can always go and ask your manager, why did you change the order, so that you can understand what's going on. So that's a bonus. You got the 5 plus this extra little bonus one, which I thought was quite a nice addition. Now, Chrissy's been keeping an eye to see if anyone has any questions. Do you have anything, Chrissy?
I have just had one come through. If we are already on Business Central SaaS, when will we get this?
Oh, okay. Yeah, so if you're on current version 15.4 of Business Central, you will be upgraded to version 16 sometime in the next 60 days. Slightly less than 60 days. It's probably about 55 days now. Oh, excuse me. If there's a particular day that you really want that upgrade to happen, you can let us know. If you drop a line to support, then we can specify on that admin center. If I go and look back at my environments, and I go and look at my sandbox environment. So you can see my sandbox environment has already been upgraded to version 16. If this was 15.4, we could come and say, do our update on this specific date between these hours. We can set that up for you. It's going to happen sometime before that 60-day period is up. If you don't choose, then Microsoft will choose a date for you. So if you're particularly worried and you really want it to happen, say on a Sunday afternoon or something, please let us know and we will change your update window to be on the date that you prefer. Anything else, Chrissy?
Yep, just one more. If we have a purchase order that has been approved, but we now need to change it, can this be done?
Okay, I'm guessing that's to do with the receipting more than was ordered functionality. So if you've got a current purchase order on your system, and let's say your system upgrades this evening, so tomorrow morning you come in and you're on version 16, that shipment comes in with an over delivery. As long as you do that setup in the over receipt codes, then it will work for your existing orders. You don't need to go and do anything with those existing orders to make it work. And if I've got the interpretation of the question wrong there, please just drop us an email and I'll send through some more details. I'll hand over back to Chrissy.
That's great, thanks Ian. So we'd like to leave you with the 5 key takeaways about what's new in Business Central, which we hope will assist you. For more detailed information, take a look at the list of new and enhanced features on the Microsoft Docs website. If you're on the Business Central SaaS version, then all of these new features will be available to you with your scheduled update. If you're on Business Central on-premise or NAV, then you'll need to upgrade or re-implement in order to receive these features. Are any of these new features enough for you to consider moving to the latest version of Business Central? Again, another reason to move to the latest version is that the latest standard functionality of Business Central could replace any existing NAV development for customizations you have. And finally, we would also recommend looking back through previous What's New documents for the versions in between the one you have and the latest one. These can all be found on the Microsoft Docs website. And of course, if you'd like to have a more detailed discussion with What's New in Business Central or moving to the latest version, then please feel free to contact us. We hope you have found this webinar interesting and informative. As I mentioned previously, this is the 24th in a series of webinars. We should be sending out emails soon to register for the next one, and we shall also put a reminder about the webinar in our newsletter as well. Thank you for attending the webinar. Once I close this session, a survey will appear. It would be great if you could respond with some feedback. If you have any further questions, please feel free to email me at marketing@tvisiontech.co.uk. Thank you very much.